10 of your books. Yedid nefesh, av harachaman, av harachaman. Meshoch avdecha, eretz onecha, eretz onecha. Yarutz avdecha, kemo ayal, ishtachaveh, el muladarecha. Yedid nefesh, av harachaman, av harachaman. Meshoch avdecha, eretz onecha, eretz onecha.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
So good to be together with you. It's great to have reached Shabbat together, a chance to just take a deep breath and enter into this day of rest and reflection. We want to make sure that we can sort of warm up this place of prayer for a few minutes to make sure that no one is praying among strangers. So we're going to take just a minute to give everyone in the room a chance to turn to someone nearby and wish them a Shabbat Shalom. If you're joining us online, that was a chance for you to drop into the chat box and say Shabbat Shalom as well so that we know that you're with us. So on this Shabbat, we have the great joy of welcoming two new adult members of our congregation, two new adult leaders of prayer and teachers of Torah in our congregation. So it is my pleasure to invite Adam and Jacob Gospin up to the bima, and with them, their parents, Tal and Dan, who will get us started this evening with the lighting of the Shabbat candles and the meditation before that blessing. If you'll turn in your books to page 3, you'll find the words of the meditation that the Gospins will lead for us, and then the blessing is on the facing page, page 2. Dan, I see Dan, you're first.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us.
As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our day be among those who kindle light.
So we'll light the candles.
Now you're going to light the candles. Ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you all. Shabbat Shalom.
So we turn to page 344 at the back of our books for these words, "Sing unto God a new song." We're so glad to have Alex Navarro playing piano with us tonight, and I hope you'll join me. This song feels new to us each week that we sing it. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Let's sing that again. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. welcome Shabbat with the words of Lecha Dodi, which can be found on page 20. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pene Shabbat, Nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pene Shabbat, Nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'diborecha, Ishmi'anu el am yuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Likrat Shabbat, Lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekor habracha, Merosh mikedem hanesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Verse 5, Hitoreri, Hitoreri, Ki ba'orech kumi hori, Uri Uri shir daveri, Kevod Adonai aleich nigla. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. We rise and face the entrance as we welcome in the Shabbat bride. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam besimcha uv'tzola, Toch emunei am segula, Boi chala, Boi chala. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela.
Still standing, folks, we turn in our books to page 28 for the call to worship, the words of Baruch Hu, page 28.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed
on page 31. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
We turn to Ahavat Olam on 32. I want to share a new setting of this prayer with you by Alana Arian. And as I was singing this setting, it's full of joy. And I was thinking about the joy of Torah. That is what this prayer is about. God shows God's love to us through Torah. We felt it at confirmation just a week ago, and we feel it as we learn from our B'nai Mitzvah students tomorrow. So here, Ahavat Olam, the joy of Torah. Please be seated. We now invite Jacob to the bima to lead us in Ve'ahavta, which can be found on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך. וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
On page 39, standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. On page 42, we'll find the words of the Hashkivenu, this special prayer that occupies space only in the evening liturgy, which describes a yearning for the experience of being sheltered and shielded and protected and looked after by God as the sun goes down and the evening falls. Many of us have spent this work week looking after and taking care of others. Some of us spend our time taking care of children, others taking care of parents. Some of us spend hours looking after the needs of the household and others busy lives at work or in the community. So as we enter into Shabbat, as the sun starts to go down, we offer this prayer. It's our chance to just take a deep breath and let all of that go, to allow ourselves to be the ones who are sheltered and looked after, if only for a short while, to know that we can relax and be held under the shelter of the wings of the divine. Page 42, we sing and pray together.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom V'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom V'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha ushmor tzedkeinu uvoheinu Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha ushmor tzedkeinu uvoheinu Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom V'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim Baruch atah Adonai Haporei sukat shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim
Our Amidah begins on page 46. It is my pleasure to invite Adam up to the reader's table to lead his congregation in prayer. We're going to be continuing on the even-numbered pages starting on page 46, and as Adam assumes the mantle of congregational leadership, would you please rise to be led in prayer?
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agitei latecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Hasadim Tovim Vekonei Hakol Vezocher Hastei Avot V'imaot Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav Le'oshia Morid Hatah Mechakel Hayim Bechesed Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Ferofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem emunato lishenei afar michamo haba gevurot umido melach melech memit u'mechaye u'matzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata le'achayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kedoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. Both the evening prayer book and the morning prayer book contain at this point a prayer for peace, but they're two different prayers. In the morning, the prayer for peace goes Sim Shalom, asking God to bestow peace on the world. And the evening prayer is this one on page 60, Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim, asking God to grant great peace on Israel and on the world. So a Hasidic rabbi wondered, why in the morning do we just ask for peace, while in the evening we ask for great and abundant peace? And the answer he gave was that in the morning, when we're setting out to start our day, to begin the day at work or school, we're just asking for enough peace to make it through the day. But at night, when we make it home to our homes and to our families, that's the time that we want our most profound prayer for great, abundant, overwhelming peace in the places that are most tender and most precious to us, so that we can spend those hours with the ones we love in tranquility and well-being and peace. And so we offer our evening prayer for great peace. Shalom Rav, page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom, ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. We have all of these beautiful ancient words that are a part of our heritage, that keep us together. And we also have the words of our hearts. And I learned an important lesson this week from a family I spent some time with, that even in the face of really hard and challenging news, it is essential to count our blessings. So I invite you in this moment of silent prayer to take a moment to count your blessings. Adonai Tzuri V'Goali. May the words of my mouth, and the meditations of my heart, be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Yiratzon refi, ve'egyon libi lefanecha. Adonai Tzuri V'Goali. Adonai Tzuri V'Goali.
Page 253. This is our chance to make a slight pivot in our prayers to turn our thoughts toward those members of our community in need of healing so that we can pray for just a moment on others' behalf. We take just a second to think about those near to us and those more distant who could benefit from a prayer for healing on this Shabbat. Tonight, our congregational Mishaberach goes out on behalf of Sarah Astrich, Marcia Block, Bradley Borden, Ed Brook and Terry Brook, Melba Berman, Mia Hope Kata, Richard Dana, Tracy Donato, Leon Finkelstein, Carol Friedman, Marcine S. Goldman, Chuck Green, Christina Howard, Cam Hunter, Richard Jackson, Sarah James, Lawrence Levy, Bev Saltzman-Lewin, Rachel Paris, Magdalene Pessin, Leah Rabelais, Hattie Reese, Shirley Schnoll, Edward Simmons, Janice Spencer, Jerry Spencer, Marcia Tsushida, Marcia Weinstein, Yvonne Zients, Ariela Sharon Bat Yafa Shoshana, David Ben Chana, Gelka Nachama Bat Libachaya, Yoshua Matityahu Ben Yaakov Aprevachana, Zahava Bat Miriam B'Shneur Zalman, and all those who are suffering with afflictions of body, mind, or spirit. On their behalf, we pray this Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Mekor habracha Leimoteinu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imoteinu Mekor habracha Lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
I have a few brief announcements to share with you this evening. First of all, another mazel tov to Adam and Jacob for entering Jewish adulthood this weekend. I want to thank them and their family for having provided the challah and wine for our Shabbat this weekend so that we can fulfill the mitzvah of saying those blessings this Shabbat. I want to make sure that you have noted on your calendars that our first of two summer community Shabbat dinners will be coming up on Friday the 24th of June after services. We hope you'll come and enjoy a meal. The meal is always good fun, very accessible economically and socially. This year, I am pleased to announce that we have an added fun twist for Shabbat dinner. Everyone who registers and joins us for dinner will be entered into a raffle for 2 tickets to the Astros game for Emmanuel's night at the ballpark. So we hope that you'll come join us for dinner and take your chances at winning some baseball tickets. We do ask that you register in advance, and you can find the link on our website. Speaking of our website, that is going to be the best place for you to look for all of the information about everything happening in our congregational community this summer. I want to especially invite you to think about visiting our Facebook page as well, so you can follow our teenagers and their staff on their trip to Israel this summer. If you go to Facebook and you search for the Shirley Barish Memorial Israel Experience, you can follow the blog entries and look at the photos of our trip. The students will be leaving on Monday, so we're heading off in just a few days. We'd love to know that you are following our trip and sending your good wishes and prayers for a safe and enlightening trip. And so speaking of travel, see if you can follow me at this other mic. Here we go. Speaking of travel, I want to invite you with me now for a trip into the wizarding world of the book of Numbers. So this week, if you are a fan of witches and wizards and magic, the portion this week tells us some exciting details of a fascinating ancient ritual. It is an old Jewish magic potion. This is a magic potion, the Torah tells us, that men in the ancient world could use to determine whether their wives were being faithful to them. According to the text, I'm not making this up, according to the text, when a man has suspicions about his wife, he can follow these steps to find out whether or not she has been faithful to him. The Torah describes in detail how this ritual works. It's essentially a trial by ordeal, not terribly different from something you may have read about in the accounts of some of the crude colonial witch hunts. The wife is brought forward to the priest, who asks her a set of questions. The priest mixes up the magic potion, which is made from holy water, in which is dissolved dirt from the floor of the tabernacle, and a piece of paper on which he has written a series of curses. The woman drinks the potion, and if nothing happens, she's innocent. But on the other hand, if she is guilty of infidelity, the Torah tells us the magic potion will bring about some striking and very uncomfortable physical reactions. Now, at first glance, this appears to be very strange stuff. Maybe it continues to look like very strange stuff at second and third glance, too. It seems to be quite out of step, both in content and genre and tone, from the other material that we're used to reading about in our most sacred text. So why is this here? Why is this story about an ancient magic potion of all things occupying space in our Torah of all places? In the world of the Bible, our best guess is that this ritual was a primitive prescription designed to address what was a very real problem, a real social or psychological need, a need that still faces us today and to which we still have not yet found a satisfactory solution. The issue is that we cannot ever really know for sure whether or not someone is lying to us. And so our ancient predecessors came up with this crude tool to try to figure out an answer to that thorny and vexing social problem. Now, historians of the Bible and of ancient Israel disagree about whether or not this ritual was ever actually practiced, and if so, for how long, whether or not people in the ancient world actually believed that this trial by ordeal could help people get to the truth about honesty and deception, about faithfulness and infidelity. In any case, what we do know for certain is that hundreds of years after this text was written, in the first few centuries of the Common Era, the rabbis of the Holy Land came along and made a unilateral proclamation. They declared that this practice of the magic potion was forbidden, and Jews were prohibited from ever trying it again. Why would they do such a thing? Well, the ritual had to be discontinued, according to the rabbis, because there had gotten to be too much deception and dishonesty in the world, and the ritual couldn't handle it. Now, on the face of it, that conclusion seems to have been counterintuitive. Why would you do away with the magic lie detector test specifically at a time when there had grown to be more dishonesty and more lying in the world. But we can follow their reasoning and come up with a couple of different possibilities for why they came to this conclusion. The first possibility is that they concluded that the tools of the ancient past had grown crude and dull. The most ancient technology of our most distant ancestors had worn down and had become unable to meet the multiplying challenges of the real world in which the rabbis lived. The ancient potion did work in its day, they reasoned. It had been effective in the long ago ancient world of the Bible, but its magic had grown weak and impotent over time. That's the first possibility for why this ritual was outlawed. The second possibility is slightly different. According to the second possibility, the ancient tools, the ancient spells and magic are still as potent as they ever had been, still powerful, and if there had never been a prohibition on making the magic potion, we could still use it today. It would still be effective in helping us sort out lies from truth in our households and in our most precious relationships. But the rabbis chose to outlaw it because they made the deliberate decision for their religious community and for ours that they didn't want Jewish life to be built on magic tricks or superstition. They chose to reject the use of magic spells to root out liars and cheaters from among us. We simply need something different, they reasoned, from our spiritual lives now, and that's the reason for which we don't use those outdated spells and rituals and magic potions anymore. Two schools of thought can be found in the rabbi's ruling. On the one hand, the idea that the old practices of the old world don't work anymore, and so we abandon them because they're broken and obsolete. Or conversely, the old magic does still work, but we have chosen to move it aside on the shelf because we need something different from our religious lives today. Two competing approaches about how to assess the value of the past, both of them still very much alive in our ethical, social, and political decision-making today. Of what use are the artifacts of the past? When there appears to be a disjunction between the remedies of long ago and the needs of the here and now, how do we make a decision and move forward? This question lies underneath many of today's conversations about politics and scholarship, about human relationships and human culture. We see it all the time in the news and in our discussions of current events. How do we preserve a reverence for the past when it feels as though the past is peeling away from the realities of modern life? This is not a uniquely American dilemma, but I think it has an added layer of urgency when modern crises arise in our country. War, terrorism, and violence. The new realities of technology and commerce and human identity. At periods of upheaval, does that invite us into an opportunity to return to the guidance of our founding fathers and the foundational documents of our country? Or are those new changes simply proof that we have to acknowledge that while the leaders and values of the past were useful and influential in their day, over time their power has grown weak? And it's now time for us to find guidance from new teachers and new truths. As a community of Jews in the liberal tradition, we find ourselves squarely at the intersection of these competing approaches to truth and social governance. We are Jews. We live a faith that is rooted in the ancient ways of our Israelite forebears. But we are specifically American Reform Jews, also heirs to the intellectual tradition of the Western Enlightenment, spurning superstition and championing science and reason and logic. There are good arguments to be made from our vantage point at the nexus of those two different parts of our identity. We can identify a few discrete truths about our approach to religious practice and religious belief from the unique position we occupy as American Reform Jews. And I think along the way that by being clear and thoughtful about identifying those approaches to our religious lives, we can also uncover useful ways of understanding our civic and political lives as well. Truth number one: for it to be worth keeping, religion must contribute to the greater good. To be religious, whatever that means to us in our own various ways of understanding, to be religious must mean that the time we spend here makes us better. The truths and traditions we learn here must enlighten, not obfuscate. The things that we do in the exercise of our spiritual lives must provide substantive benefit to our lives, our relationships, our sense of worth and belonging. And if those benefits do not emerge from the religious work that we do, then that religious work has failed. Truth number 2. We must keep the tools of the past in our workshop, but they have to continue to meet the needs of today if they are to be useful. Our faith cannot be, or at least it shouldn't be, like an exhibit in a museum showcase, designed to be beautiful and admirable from the outside, but unsuited for practical use in real people's real lives. Spiritual tools have to be recalibrated every so often if they'll remain useful in today's world. The thing that pushed that ancient magic lie detector spell into obsolescence was the rabbi's observation that more people were living dishonestly. And the sages understood that exposing the unfaithfulness of many, many people wasn't something that would help the community thrive. They didn't stop making the magic potions because people had stopped lying. They stopped making the magic potions because the people needed for Judaism to be a source of comfort and not accusation. And finally, truth number 3. When we're deliberating about how to relate to our religious past, the teachers and texts and traditions of our Jewish past should be consulted and respected, but not worshipped or idolized. To be good learners, we have to come to know the leaders of the past and develop an appreciation for what they were, but not lose sight of what they weren't. It's not irreverent or disrespectful for us to say that about the people who came before us. None of us may ever be as brilliant or insightful as the sages and rabbis who came before us, but we have things they never had. We have access to tools and teachings and technologies that would have been unheard of in previous generations. And for us to use and rejoice in those tools is not dismissive or disrespectful of those who came before us. Friends, we are modern people with modern needs in a modern world. And we have to make decisions about the places that we will make space for Torah to occupy in our lives. Like our predecessors who lived hundreds or thousands of years ago, all of us are bound by our heritage to find the places where tradition will nourish us and build us up. But we also ought to be realistic about identifying the places in which it is our duty to pick up where tradition has left off. That awareness, that understanding that it's our job to heal the world with the best of Jewish culture and the benefits and insight of reason and culture from outside these walls. That is what makes us who we are as a community of Reformed Jews. Friends, we are acting in accordance with some of the oldest Jewish principles when we do our utmost to preserve an ancient Bible in a modern world and using it to address the new problems that arise every day. Sometimes we feel the same frustration our forebears did, seeking to find a solution to dishonesty and infidelity and the mysteries and intricacies of human behavior and human relationships. Sometimes we wish we had magic spells too. But when things look bleak in our modern world today, our best Jewish response is to use the best of what we have and the best of what we know to make us into the best that we can become. Although the past is never the final word in our lives, the words of our past continue to echo in our lives and in our relationships, helping us understand who we are and who we may yet become. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Friends, we'll move back into our prayer books now toward a vision of the future, a vision of peace and redemption for all. Aleinu l'shabeach on the bottom half of page 282. Would you rise as the ark is opened?
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 287. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
At this time of memory and reflection, our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth. We remember our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We take just a quiet moment now to do the work of memory. At this time, we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season and years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. On this Shabbat, the hearts of our congregation go out in sadness and sympathy to the family of Evelyn Roth, laid to rest just this week. At this time, we remember as well those whose yahrzeits fall at this season. We remember Ann Bamberger, Joseph Becker, Stephanie Berg, Morton Berman, Beatrice Selden Berman, Esther L. Bishkin, Hyman Bleckman, Larry I. Blyden, David W. Bowden, Michael Allen Brown, Samuel Gordon Cohen, Abe Daly, Lily Oshman Daly, Sylvan Dubin, Arthur Eisenberg, Judith Ehrlich, Irvin J. Farb, Herbert Fines, Fanny Kaplan-Feld, Martin Feingold, Ephraim Frank, Ethel Goldberg Freeman, Ada Jane Fudman, Rose Valerie Gates, Rose Cohn Gewurtz, A. Arthur Gottlieb, Albert Granoff, Sarah Lee Greenberg, Kate Greenberg, Boris Grinman, Rebecca Grover, Recha Hartman, Rosalind Roddy Hirsch, Sarah Hoffman, Jerry Hooks, Forrest Lee Jackson, Nachman Kaplan, Estelle Cass, Morris Kasdan, Harris Keller, Elsie Kessler, Mrs. Sophia Kogan, Shirley Kramer, Joseph Krautkopf, Francis Leibowitz, Jean Liebman, Alice S. Levy, Sandra Koplan-Linkove, Ryan Aaron Maidenberg, Anthony Carmen A.C. Marcaccio, Mr. Fred Marcus, Sadie Fish Molaski, Ida Mormon, William Nathan, Celia Oshman, Anita Payne, Philip Morris Pessis, Leah Peterman, Benjamin Joseph Peters, Felix Reif, Noe Rodriguez, Mary Saltz Rosenfeld, Robert Rothenberg, Grace L. Salzberg, Mark Salzberg, Anna Schaefer, Mary Schaffner, Lester Richard Shallett, Roseanne Rose Schraber, Hirsch Schwartz, Maxine Seligman, Franklin Bernard Shapiro, Kathleen Simmons, Harry Smith, Jack Solomon, Sadie Solomon, William Barney Stolmack, Edith Stone, Aileen Wilkenfeld-Tiras, Irving Tofsky, Morris Warshaw, Bernard Weiss, Donald Weiss, Mary Zanefield, and Sidney Zeidman. The memories of all of them are with us as we turn in our books to page 294 and rise together for Kaddish, page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv imru amen, Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam ul'olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudsha barichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru.
Amen.
Please be seated. We continue now with our kiddush, our blessing over wine and motzi over challah. And so it is my great honor to invite Adam and Jacob to lead us in motzi along with their sister, Eliana. Kiddush and motzi. Page 5 of our books.
Okay, one for you and one for you. Okay, you guys want to come up here so we can hear you on the mic?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ha'peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon inhilanu Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila lemikra'e kodesh, zeher litziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'harta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodshecha, Be'ava uvratzon hinhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
Amen. L'chaim. You can take a sip. That looks delicious.
We don't go yet. And now the motzi.
And I'll take those from you if you want.
Yeah, I'll take
Got it, okay.
Ready?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
You can take those little
I'll take your
fellas.
challah with
You
you.
can have a seat. Beautiful.
Good job, guys. Shabbat shalom.
So as we come to the close of our service this evening, it turns out this Torah portion, I was going to say Torah potion.
Oh, see?
Torah portion has more than just a magic potion in it. It has this milestone moment, kind of as you're scrolling along, you can see this from afar, and it is some of the most ancient words of our tradition. It is the priestly blessing. Adam is going to be chanting it for us in the morning. And these words we offer to our children, we offer to wedding couples, we offer to B'nai Mitzvah students, and we offer them to you this evening. They can be found on page 299.
May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's light shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. V'yasem lecha shalom.
May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Hey, we did it. It's like I never